let's assume you're Chuck Schumer's political strategist.
Yeah.
And your objective is stay in power forever. What do you want to do? You want to, number one, change the electorate. You want to change who's voting. What's the easiest way to do that?
Illegal immigration.
But not just illegal immigration, make everyone here illegally citizens.
Yes.
The estimates vary, 11 million, 12 million. I've seen estimates as high as 18, 20 million people here illegally. No one really knows. But I think right at the top of the priority list is make as many illegal aliens as possible citizens and voters instantaneously.
Because those new voters are much more likely to vote for Democrats.
I think they're convinced they will vote Democratic. And by the way, that's not true with Hispanic voters generally. I mean, in Texas, I get over 40% of the Hispanic vote in Texas.
Yeah.
I did in 2012. I did in 2018. But those are legal Hispanic citizens.
Very
those are people who followed the rules. The Democrats have gone all in on gambling that illegal aliens are going to vote Democrat.
So that's a big structural change, ending the filibuster, and then through that, if they control everything, you get amnesty for maybe tens of millions of people.
And think about the voting consequences. Where are illegal aliens concentrated? Florida.
Yeah.
Florida turns bright blue and never votes Republican again. Texas becomes a Democratic state. North Carolina, Colorado, Arizona, New Mexico.
If Republicans lose Texas, we're never becoming president again.
It's game
right?
over.
Yeah.
If they do just that, let's assume they do nothing else. They enact the filibuster and they make 12 million illegal alien citizens.
That's it. Game over for us at the national level.
And you don't think Chuck Schumer and Bernie Sanders want to do that?
Right, of course.
So let's talk about the Senate. If they take the Senate, let's assume they have 51, 52 Democratic senators. I think high on their list, get more Democratic senators.
How do you get? Are you going to annex Greenland?
They won't do that.
Trump wants
mostly because they made fun of Trump for it. I have to admit, it was a very interesting idea. But you know what they can do? They can make the District of Columbia a state.
Washington, D.C.
Washington, D.C. And by the way, Washington, D.C. is like an 85% Democratic city. You want a state guaranteed to elect Democrats for all eternity. D.C. as a state would be the most liberal state in the country.
And they've proposed it before. Joe Lieberman proposed it right before he left the Senate.
And so if you're Chuck Schumer, you make D.C. a state and suddenly you get two brand new Democratic senators that will never lose.
Right.
Puerto Rico becoming a state. Now, it's interesting. There's some debate. You get debate whether if Puerto Rico is a state, would they elect Republicans? Would they elect Democrats? I don't know the answer to that, but I can tell you the Democratic Party thinks they'd elect Democrats.
Thinks it would be a win for them. So you could have a situation with some real probability that you add 4 Democratic senators
and then
US.
Suddenly you're trying to say, how do you get the Senate back? And instead of being down 51-49, you're down 56-49.
Yeah.
Or 55-49. No one told me there'd be math on this. Okay, so not only that, let's take a big priority of Democrats right now, and I think one of the first bills they would pass if they take control, which is national instantaneous voter registration. Now, look, that sounds kind of boring. Okay,
right.
Whatever.
So right now, it's voter registration is done by the states, and you got to sign up for it.
State and local level, and there are a lot of state and local levels that combat voter fraud.
Yeah.
The Democrats want a federal takeover. They want to put the states and local governments out of the election business.
Why?
And make everyone immediately an eligible voter because they don't. It's the same reason they fight photo ID. They don't want to see photo ID on voting.
Because it's harder to steal elections.
You want to talk about structurally ensuring they stay in power.
You know, we're seeing them do this at the local level where I am in California, where I am when I'm not in Washington. They pass these laws, motor voter laws, so you get instantaneous registration at the DMV. You even see ballot harvesting. So this idea...
Oh, and by the way, I wouldn't put it past them to have electronic voting, to have, number one, a holiday, a mandated federal holiday on Election Day, and electronic voting, because, you know, we've seen how well that worked in Iowa.
That worked so great.
They'll have the same guy, Robbie Mook, What a name.
Robbie Mook worked for Mrs. Clinton.
He was Hillary Clinton, I guess, her campaign manager.
And he was behind that app that completely botched the Iowa caucuses.
So instead, we'll just have the entire elections run through an app. But don't worry, if it's not Democratic operatives running the app, it'll be big tech. Because we can trust big tech to be in charge of our
They would never censor conservatives, have a political bias.
And as bad as they are now,
yeah,
in a Democratic, in a Bernie Sanders administration, they would, I am not exaggerating when I say this podcast could very well be off the air.